What's going on, guys? It's Dave Haas here. Welcome to the Rise Up Rich podcast. I am flying solo today, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my experience that I've been having with launching my upcoming event. It's called Your Best Year Ever. If you haven't checked it out, you can go to my Instagram profile and you'll be able to see the link and go to that website there. You can also just go to davidhaas.ca, and there's a link there that'll bring you to the landing page. But it's been an interesting process for me, and I thought it would make a cool podcast to kind of see how someone is kind of going through the process of figuring out Facebook ads and figuring out how to deliver like 100 times the value. One of the big things that I've struggled with over the course of creating Rise Up Rich, which the podcast is still called Rise Up Rich, and I'm in the process of changing that. Well, one of the struggles I've had is that Facebook won't even allow me to change the name from Rise Up Rich to David Haas, which is interesting. So I might end up having to create a whole new page for that. So that's one of the struggles I've had. The other thing is, though, about this idea around charging for the services that I provide, because forever I've been in the bar business. I've been in the bar business for 20 years, and that's a very simple, service product kind of relationship. You come in, you have fun at my establishment, you buy a beer, you pay for it. But when it comes to helping people figure out how to live the best life they can, how to maximize their potential, and about really truly helping people and giving back, it gets a little bit more cloudy on whether or not you should be charging for these services, whether I should just be a good person. But I know inside that, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I was meant to do. This is what I would do for free. So there's just been a struggle, an internal struggle that I've been having with how to price things, because the way I always have worked in my businesses, at the bar and with this, is I always want to try and deliver, $100 worth of value for 20 bucks. Or $1,000 worth of value for $100, or whatever it may be, but kind of like 10 times that. And I know that at this upcoming event, that's going to happen. Like, the event's only priced at $199, so I know that when people come, it's going to be like a $10,000 value, because they're going to leave with skills and knowledge and tools and awareness that they never even remotely had before, and they're going to have everything that they need to go and have the best year of their life, make 2020 the best year of their life. So with all of that being said, I finally set the date, booked the venue, and I was getting ready to launch this thing. This is what I want to talk to you about today, is about identifying what your favorite collapse is. And for me, my favorite collapse is always self-doubt. So when the energy was high and I was getting ready to launch this event, I was like, everything was going smooth, and I built the website. And one of the things I talk about in the ads that I do is that I've learned how to turn years into weeks. What used to take me a year to do, now it takes me weeks. And this building this event has been an exact example of that. Over the course of 3 or 4 days, I built and rebuilt the website. I'm not a web guy, but just because my motivation and my intention is so pure that I want to help people, I was just working tirelessly at getting this event right. So the first thing that happened to me, just to give you a quick background, then I want to talk about how I collapsed because things started going wrong. So the first thing that happened was I got the event done, the website was ready to go, and then I was ready to start launching my ads. So I created 10 creatives for the ads and put them out there, and Facebook disapproved every single ad. So right away I was like, what the hell is going on? And so I had to dig deeper and learn about Facebook advertising and how to change the policies. I had to remake the landing page. So like I said, over the course of 3 days, I made 3 websites and made changes to fulfill the requirements that Facebook was asking for. So that was the first thing that went wrong. Then I ran the ads, and they weren't converting. No one was purchasing the program, which I'm like, how are people not purchasing this? I just see how beneficial this could be. So that was the second thing that went wrong. And then I had to start asking some real questions about what my services were all about. And then the third thing that went wrong was like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And this is when the collapse happened. And my favorite collapse is self-doubt, meaning, I don't know. I start to ask myself, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing? maybe I should just stick to what I'm good at, running service-based business, hospitality industry. Like, I know I could open up another bar, another restaurant in a heartbeat, and it would be successful. But what I've been called to and what I'm aligned with is really giving back and helping people. But as I was going down that road, and this is what happens with most entrepreneurs or most people starting out a new concept or doing something new, the energy's high in the beginning. All of a sudden, they start to hit some roadblocks, and they hit these collapses. And for me, it was self-doubt, and it was also apathy. So as all this thing was unraveling and everything's falling apart, I started catching myself saying things like, you know what, if this doesn't work, I'm just going to go back to running the bar, and that's what I'm going to do. Focus my full time and attention to running the bar or restaurant. Or saying things like, if this doesn't work, I'm just going to sell the bar and I'm going to sail around the world, or whatever it was. And I caught myself. And the other things that were happening was I was finding myself going back to, like, for me, one of my, I guess it's not really a collapse, but one of the things that I have trouble with is like eating sweets and stuff like that. And I noticed I was like eating more sweets, and I was drinking pop and all these things that I normally don't do when I'm firing on all cylinders. And all of a sudden, all these things are going wrong, and my life is like, I live a very comfortable lifestyle, so things have been like really comfortable for a long time, and this event is the first time I'm really putting myself out there. So I start putting myself out there, I launch this event, and then all of these things go wrong. And so I noticed that I fall into self-doubt, and I had fallen into apathy again. And these are states that I've worked for a long time, 15 years to climb out of, and I went right back into those states where I was uncomfortable. And I came to this awareness that I was in these states and I was able to get out of them. I'm going to explain to you throughout this podcast how you can get out of lower states in a minute. But what was interesting about what happened here was I became aware I was in those states, and I came to the realization that this is the reason I used to do things in a year that now take me a week, because I developed the mindset, I developed the mentality, I developed the awareness that was required to realize I was in these lower states and pull myself out of them. Before I had this knowledge, or before I had this skill set, I wouldn't have had that realization. And what would I have done? I would have quit. And creating this mindset and creating this awareness is what allows you to not quit. And if you just keep going, if you truly are aligned with this is the work that you want to do, if you're truly aligned with creating that business or getting that promotion or having an amazing marriage, whatever it is, for me, right now, it's truly aligned with coaching and helping people. If you're truly aligned, you just keep going, no matter what the obstacles are, no matter what the roadblocks are. You take a step back, you pull yourself out of those lower states of consciousness, and you keep moving forward. This is the difference between people that achieve high levels of success, not just money, high levels of success in all areas of life, and people that stay at one kind of state of average. So learning to identify the lower states and move through them. So how do you identify the lower states? Well, this was described to me by my mentor, Andrew. He learned it from a guy that I can't remember his name, but he's a healer from Italy. But it's about identifying your favorite collapse. And it could be described as an old comfy sweater. So for me, my old comfy sweater was self-doubt and apathy. Apathy meaning I was the victim. Everything was because my mom died when I was 9 years old. I wasn't being provided for properly by my dad. I had to take care of myself. So I played the role of the victim my entire life. Everything, I wasn't able to achieve success because of this upbringing. My dad didn't give me the upbringing that I needed. He didn't provide me with enough monetary support, whatever it is. I was in victim mentality, passing the blame in every single situation in my life. So that was one big one for me. That was one of those favorite collapses. My other one was self-doubt, meaning I don't think I have the know-how, the knowledge, the skills, or whatever it may be to actually execute on this idea. So when things started falling apart for me, when I was trying to launch this event, I noticed myself going back into these collapsed states. So if you think about it as an old comfy sweater, when you're out of those states, because the mind has power over the emotions and it has power over the body, the mind can choose to see that comfy sweater that you normally put on and see it hanging in the closet and see it coming at you. And this is the lower states. It could be anger, it could be fear, it could be guilt, it could be shame. For me, it's apathy, it's self-doubt. And the mind has the power to choose to say, I'm not going to go there. Now, what happened to me in this particular incident was I didn't see the sweater coming, and I ended up putting it on for 2 or 3 days. But the thing that's important here is that I was able to recognize that I had the sweater on. I had that comfy collapse on. I went back to my old ways of being apathetic, my old ways of thinking I wasn't good enough. And I was in it. And I was living in that lower state of consciousness. And when you're in that lower state of consciousness, you start to attract all other types of bad situations. I was fighting with my wife more. I was more irritable. I was eating crappy food. So it was just an amazing observation to make, to see how those lower states of consciousness attract lower or negative situations into your life. Like the angry person will find anger in every single situation. The happy person will find happiness in every single situation. So because I was able to identify, and because the mind has power over the emotions, I was able to take the sweater off and get back out of those lower states of consciousness. Once I did that and I made this realization, I had this awareness, I just got right back to work. The self-doubt was gone. The feelings of apathy was gone. I started eating better, started going back to the gym. Everything started flowing again, and that is what gave me the strength to continue to move forward. This awareness, or this identification of what your favorite collapse is a hugely beneficial tool. This is what I think people that play at the highest levels do unconsciously. I don't even think they realize that they're doing it. They just have a crazy sense of self-confidence, self-awareness, that they don't allow these lower states to enter to kind of take them over. They don't allow that comfy sweater to put on, or maybe they just never put it on in the first place. Whatever it may be, though, is when they hit roadblocks, when they have things happen, go wrong in their lives, they don't fall back. And without the awareness, you can fall back into these lower states of consciousness for not just days like I did. You could fall back for weeks, you could fall back for months, you could fall back for your entire life. But it is through the continued spiritual development, through continued personal development, that you have the ability to recognize these states. And when you do that, you can recognize and you can move out of them. So that's what I want to talk about today. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the technical side of launching events and some of the things that went wrong for me, and how I moved through them. So the first thing that you need to know is that if you can figure out, if you have a product or a service or anything that you want to offer, and if you can figure out how to turn Facebook advertising, if you can figure out how to spend $1 and get $2, you've won. And it's just about identifying what it is you truly want to do, because there's never been a greater time in the history of the world to target people. Like the amount of information that Facebook knows about you and I would probably scare the shit out of you if you really knew what they actually know. And the power that exists through Facebook advertising is absolutely unbelievable. So if whatever it is you're trying to put out to the world, Facebook advertising can do that. But with that being said, they are very stringent. But here's the thing. Getting into launching this product, I knew literally nothing about Facebook advertising. I had an idea about promoting posts and doing some things that I did at the bar. But I was like, literally, that was 1/1000th of what I actually really had to know. And once I just dug in and I just started watching YouTube videos, I actually bought a course that taught me more about it. The expansion of my knowledge around advertising on Facebook, it was just, like I said, it was like 1,000 times. And this goes back to expanding the circle of what you know. So it applies both to having the awareness to identify collapses. That's a form of expanding the circle of what you know. But this applies also to Facebook advertising. My circle was very small, but because I spent the time, and when I say time, I probably spent about, let's say, 16 real dedicated hours learning how to advertise properly on Facebook. So like, it's not like it's gonna take eternity. If you really set your mind to it and you're really determined and you have identified your collapses and figured out how to get that code off, figured out how to get out of those lower states of consciousness, you can literally get done in a year what you get done in a week what used to take you a year. So it's just about having that. I guess it's it's really being connected to what it is you want to deliver. That brings me to the last point, and it's like that when it comes to whatever it is that you want to do, it's about identifying your true purpose. So because I'm so aligned with giving back and to helping other people, to bringing this inner strength awareness that I know people need to move out of these lower states of consciousness, because I see people suffering in, my family and my friends, I see people suffering in lower states of fear. Like let's say like someone that's a hypochondriac, I see the fear of disease, I see the fear of Donald Trump, I see the fear of global warming, and that's a lower state of consciousness. I see the desire is huge, because desire is what I used to resonate with. I was so desire driven. And what's wrong with desire? People say desire is a good thing. You gotta have desire, you gotta have drive to move forward. But what you're basically saying when you have desire is that my life isn't good enough now, and I need something outside of myself for my life to be better. And so what I had to make the shift, the major change that I made, was to figure out how to get happy right now. And I let go of those desires. And once I did that, everything that I ever wanted, ever dreamed of, began to flow into my life effortlessly. So getting out of these lower states is what I'm 100% dedicated to teaching people how to do. Because I am 100% dedicated to helping people get out of these lower states of consciousness, to move up the scale of consciousness, when I hit these roadblocks and when I slip back into apathy and when I slip back into self-doubt, I was able to have the awareness to pull myself out and also re-motivate myself to continue moving forward. If this was an idea that was solely based around making money, I wouldn't have been able to pull myself out of those lower states of consciousness. I wouldn't have been able to reinstall the motivations that I needed to continue moving forward to fill up this event. So it has to be about more than the money. It has to be about a deep internal passion. And if you can identify how you can provide $100 worth of value for $20 or $1,000 worth of value for $100, then you have a business, right? You have a concept that people will flock to and will buy in abundance. And that's the difference between being motivated by money and being motivated by truly giving back. And you can truly give back in all kinds of ways. It doesn't have to be about teaching people how to overcome lower states of consciousness. I mean, that's a pretty deep one. It could be giving back at your job, I have Juliana here recording this session, and it's like she could deliver 100 times the value for what she gets paid her salary. If she delivers to me 100 times what I pay her in salary, do you think that she's not going to move up in the company? Do you think she's not going to get recognized by somebody else and get a higher paying job? Of course she is. It's like the universe is not going to allow that imbalance to go on forever, right? So this is what it's about. It's about figuring out what you truly want to do and asking the question is, how can I give back? How can I provide the most amount of value? And if you answer that question, the motivation will be there. And so when you do hit those roadblocks, you're not going to fall back into those lower states. And then just to add as a little reminder through repetition is that you have to be able to identify what your favorite collapse is. So I'm just going to end this podcast today with asking you the question. And I want you to think about this. If you're listening to this, driving your car, or you're at the gym on the treadmill, it's like, what is your favorite collapse? Where do you go when shit hits the fan? What's your favorite collapse? What's your comfy sweater that you fall back into? And just bringing awareness to that is going to allow you to choose to not put that sweater back on the next time things begin to fall apart in your life. You can choose to move out of it. And even if you do catch yourself putting that sweater on and in that collapse, the awareness that you are in that collapse is what will bring you out of it. So this is how we move up the scale of consciousness. And this is how we move into higher states like courage and acceptance and love even. So if you're interested in learning more about moving up the scale of consciousness and improving your life, attracting abundance, getting aligned with your true purpose, you can check out my upcoming event. It's called Your Best Year Ever. It's January 12th at the Windsor Yacht Club. There's limited seats because I just want to make sure I provide the most amount of value to people that come. The price is $199. It's a full 8-hour workshop. Lunch is included. It's going to be one of the most amazing events that's ever been to Windsor. I'm 100% confident that if you do attend this event, you're going to receive $10,000 in value for the $200 that you spend. The link is in my Instagram bio. You can check me out on Facebook. Instagram is David F. Haas, Haas. And that's it for this podcast. So thank you for taking the time to tune in, and feel free to hit me up, message me. What topics do you want me to cover? Any comments you have about the podcast, I am here to help. That's why I've created this platform. So thanks for taking the time to listen, and I look forward to seeing everybody next time.